right, and welcome to this LinkedIn Live for Women Leaders. Today is our last LinkedIn Live for Women Leaders. We have decided to live stream on all social media channels, and so basically the LinkedIn Live didn't really make sense anymore. So we choose for a new format, a new template, bringing the same value for you, and it is Power Talks for Remarkable Females. So, welcome to this session. I am Helena de Monk. I'm your host, and I am here with Dr. Maria Hester. She is a health coach, she is a podcast host, she is an author, and she's much more than that. And I'm thrilled to have her here on our topic for today, Wellness Redefined. Welcome, Anne. How are you doing?
I am too blessed to complain. Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. And the idea for today is to have a conversation on wellness and how it is so important for us. And if you are live, then please write whatever question you have, whatever remark you have, your feedback, or things that you recognize. Write it in the comments. If you are watching the replay, then use the comments below on this page, whatever social media channel you are on, because we will keep monitoring it and we will give you an answer or follow up with you. Also, follow, if you didn't do that yet, follow us or connect with us on LinkedIn so we can keep you informed and keep you in the loop about everything that we do, because we bring a lot of content. We bring free content that is extremely relevant and valuable for women leaders, for women executives, women entrepreneurs. And where do you want to start with Wellness Redefined?
I want to start with our quiet crisis that women just, we are not aware of. The World Economic Forum and the McKinsey Health Institute recently put out a report. There is a huge women's health gap. We often think about, okay, there is a gap in the boardroom, but there's a gap in healthcare. And versus in the
Mhm,
boardroom, where it impacts our income, in the doctor's examining room and in the hospital room, it can impact our lives. So
mhm.
specifically, the report found that every year we lose 75 million years of life. It's hard to fathom, but because of poor health and early death, women lose 75 million years of life annually. That's 27 billion days of quality life per year. 39 trillion minutes per year. And
My
if we
God.
could close that gender health gap, it could add $1 trillion to the global economy by 2040, because a lot of people may think, okay, these are older people. A lot of the impact is in women between the ages of 20 and 60. And so if
Mhm.
they could close that gender health gap, they could add $1 trillion to the global economy. And I think huge, and that's a great place to begin.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on this health gap? What does it mean? Where does it come from? What's the cause of it?
Victoria, for instance, about I think in America, this statistic was specifically for America. 1% of the R&D research and development dollars are spent on women-related health issues. This might actually be from the World Health Organization, but
Hmm.
the lack of appropriate funding for diseases impacting women, that's part of it. And then you have the fact that women may not be offered the same treatments as men for the exact same diseases. There was a report by the Mayo Clinic that recently noted that men are, I think, 22 times more likely to be offered a knee replacement than women. They're more likely to be offered cardiac rehab than women. Part of it is institutional bias. It is the mindset that women, for whatever reasons they feel that way, should not be getting the same level of care as men. Sometimes women, they're just not offered the appropriate treatments to the extent that men are. And sometimes, to be quite honest, women are not taken seriously. Even back in medical school decades ago, I remember professors talking about, oh, she's just hysterical. The woman's in pain.
Hmm.
And so we're just not taking us seriously. And also, women around the globe may have their diagnoses determined later in life. It could be years later before a woman is diagnosed with a cancer versus the average man with the same cancer. Years later to be diagnosed with diabetes. So it's on many levels, everything from research and development to how doctors perceive women to there are certain things that we could be doing differently, which is what I really want to focus on. We
Yeah.
cannot change the way people perceive us, but we can take actions now. For instance, we know that there are several pillars of lifestyle medicine that have been proven to help prevent, treat, and potentially reverse some diseases. We have the ability to do those things now. The easy way to remember them, add AD. We're going to skip a D. If you do these six things, you can add so much to your life. A, activity. Being very active is huge. D, diet. A plant based whole food diet is huge. The first of four S's. Stress reduction is
Mhm.
enormous. There's so many things that we should be doing to decrease stress. The second S, sleep, restorative sleep. The
Mhm.
third S, social connections. That can impact your life expectancy. And the fourth S is substances. Avoid toxic substances. So AD and then four S's.
Mhm.
Those things have been scientifically proven to help prevent, treat, and reverse some diseases. And we can start today with those things.
Yeah. Basically, it is about us taking ourselves seriously because you just say women are not taken seriously, but I feel also that we sometimes wait too long. We are not focusing on self care. We are always taking care
Exactly.
of other people and other things, and taking care of ourselves is like very low on our priority list. And sometimes then we let things just pass, or we overlook them, or we sometimes don't even feel them, let
Mhm.
alone be proactive and do things in order to get a better quality of future life. Does that make sense?
You're exactly right. And just like whenever you get on an airplane, the stewardess says, put your oxygen mask on first.
Mm,
That's because if your oxygen drops and you pass out, how are you going to help the child next to you? But
exactly.
women have the mindset, and we are conditioned that we are the nurturers.
Yeah.
It goes beyond that. Women are not just homemakers now. We have the children, we have the house to take care of, we have jobs. Sometimes we have very stressful, high power jobs. We have all of these things that
Mm,
we are trying to deal with. And so we often neglect our health until it's too late.
hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Now, if we drill a little bit deeper into these AD and 4S's,
Mhm.
can you give some practical examples of what we
Yes,
can do in order to apply those? That would be wonderful.
yes, A, activity. So if you can exercise 30 minutes or more on the average day, by exercise, any exercise is important. But we know that people who exercise 30 minutes in a moderate activity, such as if you're walking 3 miles an hour, if you're walking down the street with your friend and you're having a deep conversation and you're texting, you're not going 3 miles an hour. So it's moderate activity. If you have a treadmill, 3 miles an hour. So if you do that 30 minutes a week, 150 minutes a week, that's profound. Or 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic activity, such
Mm,
as tennis. I apologize, I thought that was off. Tennis, running, and other things. So those things are profound. 50 moderate, 75 very vigorous activity a week.
yeah. Just make that
Also,
body move.
I'm sorry,
Just make that body move.
keep
Yeah.
it moving. But
Mm,
realistically, a lot of us work at home, and there's still something that you can do. Get an under the desk elliptical, an under the desk bicycle. I am
yeah.
terribly sorry.
Yeah.
Under the desk bicycle. And something that I started doing is I have purchased like a little stand up desk. And so
Mm,
I've elevated my desk, and there's like a platform, and I put my computer on it, and I can lift it up. I can go up and down. I stick the treadmill under the desk. So I can
Mm,
exercise 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes while I'm typing, and I don't really notice I'm exercising other than the fact that these endorphins are kicking in. I'm feeling better. My mind is
yeah.
clearer. So there
Mm,
are so many things that you can do, even if you work at home, if you work in an office, keep it moving.
hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's
diet,
so many options. Sometimes it's funny how little creative we are. You can park your car a little bit further and walk one or two extra
absolutely.
streets in the morning and in the evening, especially if you work from home. You can, I would say, get up 15 minutes earlier and make a walk
There you
outside
go.
because, of course, you can do things under your desk. But
Hmm.
if you can be like in nature or have some fresh oxygen, it's even better. There's so many things that we feel like, oh yeah, we could do that if somebody tells us, and then we try a couple of days and then we forget again. And it is
Yeah.
also about the creativity and then about the discipline to just do that every day. Absolutely.
Speaking of nature, I'm going to skip. I'll come back to the D. But you talked about a nature walk. That is excellent for stress
Mm,
reduction. And also,
absolutely.
the light also helps with your mood. So, one
Yes.
treatment for seasonal affective disorder or the blues when it's dark a lot is light therapy or getting in the
Hmm.
sunlight.
Yeah.
That is huge. Stress reduction is particularly important for women because we have this kettle, so many things brewing all the time that we're dealing with. And stress can kill you.
Yeah.
And we're so focused on being productive, getting a lot of work done, not sleeping. That's not a badge. That is a life threatening
Hmm.
mindset. Because if you're
Hmm.
not getting a restorative sleep, if you're constantly stressed, then you are unknowingly decreasing your life expectancy. There's so many things that are looped together.
Absolutely.
Um,
Basically, your productivity also lowers. We sometimes think that
Absolutely.
working very long will help us to achieve our goals and get our deadlines. But it's a lot better to get to stop sometimes and do some meditation or some breath work or make a walk in nature, get a good sleep in order to be more productive because you will activate your prefrontal cortex a lot easier, where your creativity and options and potentials are. So we're
You're
sometimes
absolutely
stuck
right.
in that loop, and we could know better. There's so much information about that, and there's so many apps also in order to help us with this stress reduction and breath work in order to fall asleep easier. So there's a lot of possibilities, right?
Yes, and we also now know there are studies that show people who do shift work, they work night shift. Their
Mm.
circadian rhythm gets off. That could increase the risk of diseases. And one study showed an increased risk of breast cancer in doctors who did the night shift. There's so many things that go on in the body. In
Mm.
addition, something simple to relieve stress is to laugh. When you laugh, you're sucking in oxygen rich breath.
Yeah,
So you are nourishing your vital organs and you're releasing endorphins and it
exactly.
helps you relax.
Yeah.
And
What do you
so
do to have a good laugh session, Anne?
I have the corniest sense of humor. Something I did yesterday was Father's Day in America. And so I bought my husband this little device called Dad Jokes. So you push the button and the man gives you this corny joke. So my husband was sitting there, that's not funny. My daughter said, that's not funny. I was cracking up. These things were hilarious. And I like to go online and look for corny jokes and I tell those
Yes.
jokes. I just
Mm.
laugh and my kids laugh
Yeah.
sometimes. But whatever
Yeah.
works for you. Some
Yeah.
old TV
Absolutely.
shows make me laugh, but whatever you can do to laugh, and I go back and forth with some of my good friends on the text string from college, telling corny
Mm.
jokes, but laughing regularly,
Yeah.
that is profound.
Yeah.
And it's so important. It's a simple thing to do, and it makes you feel good, and it's actually good. Some people have said laughter is the best medicine, and it really does a lot to help you.
There is research about that, isn't there? That
There is,
people who are like
absolutely
having
is.
treatment for very severe diseases, and they are watching television or they're watching like all these comics, and they just recover a lot easier or
Laughter is good
faster, which is
medicine.
amazing.
There's a
Yeah.
physiologic basis for it. Other than just enjoying the laugh, it literally does something inside the body. So laughter is good. And it's
Mm.
free. and
It's
eat.
free. Absolutely. Yeah, you could do it anytime. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you know what I would like to add for those of you listening in here that might consider adopting a dog? What is very stress reducing for me is cuddling my dog and playing
Me
with my dog. And
too.
you have an instant
Absolutely.
production of oxytocin and you feel happy and joyful and you are really in the moment because your pet is in the moment and it takes you with it in the moment. So if you have a dog, then I guess you already do that. I surely hope for you and for your
I
pet. And
do.
yeah,
It's there's nothing like it. My kids used to get jealous because when I came home from the hospital, I would stop in the mudroom, which is the first room from the garage, and I would spend time with my puppy. Mom, you haven't
mhm,
seen us all day. I'm like, yes, but he relieves stress. So give me a few moments with my dog. I just
yeah,
love looking in his beautiful brown eyes and just petting him.
exactly.
It's like having a glass of wine. It's so relaxing. And people who
Yes.
have pets live longer than people who don't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that tells
So
you something as well.
if you're considering to take a pet for the right reasons, of course, then this is a benefit that you get for
Absolutely.
free for the rest of the life of your pet. It's
And they
just
love
amazing.
you and they appreciate
Exactly.
you. There's nothing like
Yeah.
having a furry
Yeah.
friend.
Absolutely. What else? We jumped to D, I think, right?
Okay, so D, diet. Plant-based whole food diet.
Hmm.
That is very important. They did studies. They had women with breast cancer. So this group of women on the right hand, they followed this diet, plant-based whole food diet. On the left hand, women did not. Even though they had the same cancer, and this has nothing to do with the chemo or the surgery, or anything, but the women who followed the plant-based diet lived longer. And they found the same thing with men with prostate cancer. In
Hmm.
addition to that, we know that these diets can decrease the risk of developing cancer in the first place, certain cancers,
Hmm.
including breast cancer and other sorts of cancer. They can decrease the risk of high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, all sorts of things. And what
Yeah.
people don't realize, I can't speak to all of the countries, but I can speak for America. A lot of food scientists create foods that just have that right combination of sugar, salt, and fat that hits the pleasure centers of the brain that make you want more and more.
Hmm.
And it can be addictive, just
Yeah.
like the opiates and sex is the same pleasure center. And so
Hmm.
as we're consuming more of these ultra processed foods, we're getting bigger, our blood pressure is going up, the heart disease is getting more profound, we're clogging the arteries. And so natural is better. Plant-based
Hmm.
whole food. I like organic when I can get it. I can't buy everything organic. I grow some of my own food as we talked
Yeah.
about.
Yeah,
But
we were
diet
talking
is
about
huge.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Not everybody can do that. And for the people listening in that are not really sure what it is, plant-based, whole food, what can you just give some examples? What is in it? What is not in it?
Yeah. Okay. So you take an apple, you're walking down the street. Your neighbor has an apple tree. You pull an apple off. That's purely a whole food. When you get to like minimally processed, that means you may take the apple home, put a little bit of butter and some cinnamon and so forth in it, and you make applesauce. And then you get a fried apple fritter. That's ultra processed because now you're frying it. So you go from a whole food, the apple, to minimally processed applesauce, to ultra processed, a fried
Mm,
apple fritter. If you pull it out of the ground, it's absolutely a whole food. But
yeah.
things that are as close to nature as possible, minimally processed, if at all. If you buy a package of frozen broccoli, that's minimally processed.
Yeah.
So that's not a real concern. But when you have, you buy the container that has all of these chemicals, words that you can't even pronounce because they're so long, and all of the butter and the different colors and all of these things in there, that's what we're talking about ultra processed. So those are the things you want few of any, if any of, and you want to be as natural as possible. There's so much
Mm,
healing in nature. Even people who have a sweet tooth, stevia. A few years ago, I discovered stevia. It's a plant. It's 120 times sweeter than sugar. I take stevia every place. The pack that's all over my house. My husband said, "You dropped stevia there. The stevia here." I put stevia. I make casseroles with it, coffee. I travel with it.
Mm,
0 calories. You can even get organic stevia. Make
mm.
your casseroles as sweet as you want without adding any calories.
Yeah. What do you think of meat? I was having a conversation today with somebody who said, really, even meat, as pure as it can be, is processed and is produced because the cows are not the cows that we knew 50 or 100 years ago. They are basically full of antibiotics and steroids and hormones and whatever. So basically, the meat is also processed food. It is not pure food and you shouldn't eat it. What's your opinion about that?
For that particular issue, I would have to say it depends on where you're getting your meat from. I have backyard birds, and I'm a vegetarian, so I will take the eggs. But technically, if my husband went out and he killed and baked a chicken, we don't put anything on the grass that they eat. So that would be not quite as concerning as going to the store with all of these hormone fed. That being said, a plant based diet is great. I'm not saying you have to be a vegetarian or vegan, but most of the food should be plant based. You can certainly have meat, preferably things like fish and salmon. Those things are really good. Let's talk about chicken for a moment, poultry. Most people are aware of depression and anxiety. I don't know how many millions of prescriptions are written each year. Excuse me, my kombucha for drugs that impact your mind. Anxiety and depression is huge. There is an amino acid called tryptophan that's a very important building block of serotonin, which is what these drugs help keep up in your brain. And chicken breasts are full of tryptophan. Some fruits and vegetables are full of tryptophan. And those things are the building blocks of the serotonin that gives you that feeling of feeling good. And also, even there's a bush in Africa, 5-HTP. You can get the extract in different stores, the building block to serotonin. And I read one
Mm,
study that people who take these supplements and check with your doctor, I'm not advising you to do anything, I'm just giving you information. For mild depression, some of these supplements work just as well, seed extracts, as the prescription strength medications. And so there's a
mm,
lot in nature, but it depends on how it's packaged. And getting back to your question about meat, meat in moderation is fine, but choose the high quality meat if you're going to go for
mm,
meat. Make sure that you're getting the quality sources and not the meat that you would not want to feed your animals
mm,
because it's on
mm.
sale. Just
Yeah.
take some time to investigate exactly what you're eating.
Yeah, I hear a lot of times then, but I don't have time for that. I hardly have time to do grocery shopping, let alone to go to the bio shop or to the organic shop and source or understand where my food was sourced. I have three jobs. I have a family. I have my parents to take care of. I have a full-time job. When do I do this? So this is something that I hear very often if we're talking about breaking habits, especially about food, that people don't know how to start, or they start with a lot of good intentions and after 1 week they say, okay, this doesn't work, I can't keep this up. So what would you advise in order to integrate that in the daily routine?
To batch the food, I would say that you take time and you sit down with your grocery list and determine what you're going to get. You go to the store, you can make enough food that's going to last. So you may put the food in a crock pot, and that takes so little time. Even if you get organic pinto beans, full of B vitamins and fiber and protein, it will take you all of 60 seconds to wash pinto beans, put a little olive oil in, some garlic salt, water, and turn it on. 8 hours
Mm,
later, you have a big pot of beans. You can freeze some of them. There is cookware that you can put in the freezer, the microwave. I don't like microwaves, but you can put it in the microwave, the dishwasher, the oven. You can get some of the cookware and you can portion everything out, put some stuff in the freezer. And then
mm,
if it's something that, you're going to be using regularly, brown rice over white rice, of course, you can make things and put the stuff away. So those may be the building blocks for a meal later. So when you're a week or two later, you're trying to figure out what you're going to do for a meal. Oh, I have this and this in the freezer. Take it out, let it thaw, put it together, add a few things, and there's your meal. So
mm,
time is extremely important. And so that's why women have to be wise. As I mentioned, we lose 75 million years a year. 75 million years of quality life each year. Some of it is premature death. And so it's
mm,
easy to say, I don't have the time. But just think about this question: do you have time not to invest in yourself?
mm,
So 5 years down the line, you could potentially be healthy, happy, traveling, or you could have a debilitating disease. The same study by the World Economic Forum found that women spend 25% more of their lives in a debilitated state than men. And so realizing, again, 39 trillion minutes a year that we lose because of poor health and early
mm.
death.
Yeah.
When you think about how profound this crisis is, we cannot afford to continue with what we're doing. We've
Mm,
got to make a switch because these things are not going to be done for us. Yes,
mm,
eventually over time, we may be treated better in the healthcare arena, but right now, we all have the opportunity to make some decisions, teach our daughters, teach our
exactly.
sisters, our
Mm,
mothers, our
yeah.
aunts, our cousins, our friends. This is not going to go away overnight. 75
Mm,
million years lost a year. We're women leaders. We need to lead in this realm. If
mhm,
women prosper, the world prospers. A trillion extra dollars in the world economy if we close the health gap. Who's going to
mm,
close the health gap? We need to be serious about doing our part, playing our role. Because when we learn these things and we teach our children, our daughters to prioritize themselves and to learn these things, they'll teach our grandchildren and so
exactly.
on and so forth. We're
Yeah.
talking about generations of
Mm.
change, and we've got to be the change. You've got to get started.
Absolutely. We are not aware enough about how we are role models, whether we want to be it or not. We are role models. Our children are looking at us. We are educating our children in many ways, also in all the areas that you just mentioned and that we are talking about in order to the possibilities that we have to close this health gap. And it is so important that we understand that we impact our families and our communities with the way we
Absolutely.
behave and the way we set routines and also basically set boundaries about what we tolerate and how we show up in order to do something about that. Yeah, absolutely. I like that.
Mhm.
I echo that. Yeah. So the next S.
Substances. There is a website that everybody should go to, ewg.org. Again, ewg.org. This site will help you understand what you're exposed to. There are so many toxins all around us, and I don't just mean cigarette smoking and so forth. Things that we breathe in, things in our laundry detergent, things in the cleaners in the house, things in
Mm,
the paint, things all around us that can impact our lives. Let's get back to cigarette smoking. If I told you every day at 747 is going to crash and kill everybody on board, when would you book another flight on a 747?
exactly.
Every day, and this is just in America, more people die from smoking related causes than if a 747 crashed. That's just in my country. Alcohol intake is very important.
Mm,
We now know that alcohol intake is associated with breast cancer. So, based on where you are, the quality of the alcohol, that matters. I read that, I think it's in Italy, Sardinia, I believe, is one of the blue zones. Their wine, they drink plenty of red wine, but the grapes used have a tremendous amount of antioxidants. You're not
Hmm.
going to find that in the store down the street. But
Hmm.
we do know that increasing alcohol intake is associated with breast cancer risk. Your brain can shrink. You can get cancer, various forms of cancer. Your heart can fail. It keeps going and going. And so toxin exposures are profound. And so we need to be careful, not just what we eat, but everything we're exposed to. Shampoos, lotions, all of those things. When you go to
Hmm.
ewg.org and you put in your favorite brands, you'll be shocked. One day I did that and I threw out almost everything I had. And I went and I purchased a safer, greener version.
Yeah.
Because what you
Or
put
you can make them yourself. I make most of my stuff myself.
on.
It's pretty easy and it's fun, especially if you have children, you can do it
Mhm.
together. Because I once heard something that if you don't eat it, don't put it on your skin because your skin is the biggest absorber of
The biggest organ we
substances.
have.
Exactly. So
Something
we are not aware of that. Yeah.
you mentioned making it. There was a study, and I like to talk about studies, obviously, but I'm trying to make it practical that for hair loss works as well as
Hmm.
the most common topical that people use with all the chemicals. And so, rosemary oil, all you do is you buy some rosemary, I like organic, olive oil, and you warm it up, heat it up, put it in a dark bottle, and that works as well. And I've spoken with multiple people I've told about it. It's like, what? Really? My hair is growing back.
Hmm.
This is natural. And it
Wonderful.
works
Thank you for
for
the
other
tip.
people too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it works. You can Google it. There's
Yeah.
scientific basis for this. There's so
Mm.
much in nature that we know will help.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
toxic exposure, that's huge.
Yeah. We have lost a lot of knowledge, isn't it? I sometimes think that if something would happen that we're like out of electricity, we're not connected anymore with the
You
internet,
know what to do.
there's no possibility to do shopping anymore because the doors don't even open and refrigerators don't work and things like that. The only people that would really survive would be like the Bushmen because they still know what
Hmm.
nature offers us. A lot of
Absolutely.
people sometimes to say it with the boutade, but some people think that milk comes out of the fridge and things like that. But we don't know where things are coming from. We don't know what plants are offering us in terms of benefits or
So much.
minerals or and nutrients in general. It is a pity. It is a pity.
It is.
And people are going back to that and there's like beautiful books going back to nature that I love to read in or just to just open a page and you always see something that hey I know this like you say rosemary for example these are the benefits of taking it and you can just easily implement it in your food routines. So this is something that we instead of Netflixing, we should do like nature flixing or something
I like that.
and have a better understanding of all the abundance that we
We
have in our
need that. We really
yeah,
need that because there's so much healing in nature, but we are so used to the quick fix that we've
exactly.
gotten away from what's right in front of us that can heal our problems or reverse them. I
Yeah.
mentioned these pillars of health, ADSSSS, is lifestyle medicine. That's a new branch of medicine. They have studies showing that doing these things can treat, prevent, and possibly reverse diseases. On one hand, we have all of these companies who are pushing all of these ultra processed foods. They're good. We love you. Come and buy our foods that will shorten your life expectancy. We're paying our food scientists to create these things to addict you, to make you obese, to give you heart disease. And then you have
Mm,
big pharma saying, yes, and once you develop diabetes and heart disease, come and see us. Because we have all of these drugs. Some of them can kill you, but we have all of these drugs that can treat the diseases that you would not have gotten if you had done things differently naturally in the first
Yeah.
place. It's
Mm,
maddening.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's food lobby and pharma lobby combined. Yeah, it's not a good result.
No, it's
Absolutely. Yeah.
horrible.
Mm, yeah. So your next SN is sleep. And I cannot believe there's so many talk shows and articles and research and blogs about sleep. I cannot believe that we still need to be reminded.
One issue I see is we always want more. We want a better paying job. We want a bigger house. We want more. So we're willing to work more and more to get these things that we want. And so we prioritize this super busy lifestyle. And if it means you get 3 or 4 hours of sleep as you're climbing the ladder to get this big corporate job, that's what we're often willing to do. In medical school, you just didn't sleep. You know, you may go 24, 48 hours and not get sleep, or you get a cat nap. That was what we had to do. But now in America, they've changed the residency so that you can't treat residents that way anymore. You've got to
Mm,
allow them to sleep because it's just not
of
safe for
course.
anybody. But it is
Mm,
the mindset of getting more, being more. And what people don't realize, while in the short term, yes, you get more, if years down the line you die 7 years earlier, what did you gain? There was a study, I know studies, but there was a study that showed that people who take naps during the daytime, they could actually have a larger volume in their brain, bigger
mm,
brain. Simply, sleep is important, and we need to spend a little bit more time thinking about how we're going to organize things so we can get higher quality sleep because it
mm,
literally can impact how long you live.
mm. Absolutely. I have to be very honest. I have an alarm on my phone. I have one, of course, to wake me up in the morning, but I have one to remind me that I have to prepare for bed.
Oh,
Because
I
of,
love
if
that.
not, I continue.
Yeah.
You are working or you're reading, and okay, let me end this chapter, or you're watching a series. Okay, there's a cliffhanger. Let me see the next one. So I have an alarm on my clock. Get ready to bed. Not like sleep
Mhm.
now, but in terms of like in half an hour, you you better be in bed because this is what you agreed with yourself. It's a
That's
commitment.
brilliant. And I hope a lot of people watch this who do the same thing because if you have that reminder, oh, I've got to get ready to start shutting it down. That's an
Exactly.
excellent idea.
Yeah. And somebody here writes in the comments, thank you so much for joining us here. We want more, but often more of things that are not good for us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah,
That's the problem.
that's the problem. Yes. Yeah. Going back to basics sometimes, going back to essence is so important. I had a weekend here with three like-minded women. I live on the top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere, and
Mhm.
I like to have also this slow cooking and this slow food. And I understand I own my own business and I really can
Mhm.
choose. I am not accountable to any boss or whatever in terms of how I spend my day and when I work and when I do other things. And so we had 3 days of organic meals, very simple but very healthy, with a lot of nutrients. And everybody at the end this morning, we were like doing, how are we going to keep momentum? And it is about slow down. We don't have to work 17 hours per day
Right.
because we want that big house or that third trip to Hawaii or Nepal or things like that. And because of course those are beautiful things and those are beautiful aspirations, but the cost to get there sometimes is there's no balance anymore. There's no balance
Absolutely.
anymore. Mm. Yeah. And just the simple things, enjoying simple things of life
Mhm.
is extremely, you know, you
Calming.
can
Mhm.
calming. Your whole system calms down.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So sleep, I would say set that alarm, but not to get up, but to go to bed. Wind down in the meantime. There's so many things that you can do that are very valuable in the last half hour. And if you feel like you still need to do things, then just gently prepare for the next day. So you can spend your mornings also not that stressed and hurried, and you can have your breakfast in a way that is friendly with yourself and friendly for your digestion. There's so many possibilities. Look around, listen to friends. What are they doing? Challenge each other, inspire each other, just to find these little things that you can change in order to sometimes make a big impact and make a big shift, right?
And if yes, ma'am, and a few things you can do: a hot bath,
Mm.
lavender, aromatherapy, a hot bath. Turn the thermostat down some. Turn off the screen an hour or two before bedtime. Turn down the lights like 30 minutes before you're actually going to go to sleep. You can do all of these things, and that will prepare you to
Mm.
fall asleep. And also,
Exactly.
exercise can not only release endorphins and make you healthier, but by the end of the day, you can be so tired, you can just drift off to sleep easier. A lot of these things, they are combined. Cognitive health, women leaders, we want to be able to think. We need to be on our toes. So your diet impacts your mood, impacts your creativity. You eat a lot of these ultra processed foods and your mind is blah, versus if you eat a lot of whole foods, you're more likely to be able to think better, to process things better. Stress, exercising can decrease stress. It will help you sleep better, which will help you wake up the next morning prepared. Everything is just interwoven, and doing those six things, the ADSSSS, can really have a profound impact on your life. Everything from decreasing your cancer risk, decreasing your risk of depression, decreasing your risk of anxiety, decreasing your blood pressure.
Yeah.
All of these things are very profound.
Yeah. We have some S left, right? It's so we have A is the action or activity, D is the diet, S for stress, sleep,
Social connections.
oh, I love
That
that.
is important. And so
Absolutely.
just there's so many things, everything from just being around people and laughing to feeling loved, feeling a sense of belonging. All of those things matter. And the
Yeah.
social connectedness actually can help you live longer.
Hmm.
There is something from, I think, Harvard a while back that showed people who went to Harvard University versus, these were men, went to Harvard, and men who lived in the inner city. One thing they had in common is the social connections increased the life expectancy. Completely
Hmm.
different backgrounds, but the social connections were huge. And we
Yeah.
know that can increase your life expectancy. You even talked about your furry friend. Just having that love around you,
Yeah. Hmm.
that's huge.
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel that a lot of people are isolated and feel
Mhm.
lonely, really do not have that connection. And also, there, I would say it is a kind of showing up, taking that responsibility for yourself, take care for yourself to reach out. And then people say, yeah, but I'm introverted. I don't like to go out. I don't like to go to networks or to parties or whatever. What I did 4 years ago, 4 years ago, I moved from Belgium to the south of Spain. I had a lot of plans and dreams and things that I wanted to do. And when I arrived here 3 days later, we had a lockdown. And we were like for 9 weeks locked in our houses. We could only go out to do our grocery shopping in the closest supermarket. We weren't even not allowed to go for a walk unless you had a dog. So there were a lot of dogs adopted in Spain. And I committed to myself that every week I would speak at least with two people that I know, like family and friends, and with two people that I don't know yet via LinkedIn. And I just reach out. And actually, I still do that. And I think it's also somehow how we got connected a while ago. This is basically so easy. And I know that in real life connections are a lot better. But if it is not possible for whatever reason, at least reach out online. have a Zoom call with
Absolutely.
somebody, connect, see how you can support each other, really
Mhm.
talk about that, ask what you need, ask for what you need, and offer also help for what other people need. And you will really build your relationship and you will activate your network of support instead of having just these loose connections with neighbors or whatever. Just be
Mhm.
very aware that this social weaving is extremely relevant and important.
Profound.
And yeah,
Sense of
absolutely.
belonging, a sense of purpose, a sense of connection. That is so important.
Yes, absolutely. I see Denise here mentioning you and that your information is very good.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Kudos for you. Yes. Other tips to build that social network or that social weaving.
It depends on the individual. Some people they like to go to the park. My husband goes to the park and people know him by his orange shirt. So he's the best friend of anybody. He's an extra. Some people are introverts,
It's,
and
mm,
their means may be anything from Zoom sessions to just chatting with the next door neighbor. Reach out to friends. One of my friends from high school reached out to me on Facebook a while back. I'm like,
mm,
Sean or Daniel, I remember. Oh, that's who he was. I remember the name, and I'm like, we used to be good buddies. And
yeah.
so we've been communicating on Facebook. And I have not seen Sean in before the year, but there's always a way, to connect with somebody, whether
Yeah.
it's Facebook, Zoom. You can use your iPhone to do the one-on-one sessions, Skype. There's so many things you can do. You can
Mhm.
join groups on LinkedIn, Facebook, and other social media
Yeah.
platforms. If you don't really want to be so much face to face, you can still communicate with them through chat groups.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of
Absolutely.
different options.
Yeah, there's so many Facebook groups for women entrepreneurs, for
Mhm.
women in Spain, for women this, for women that. It's like impossible not to find one or two that don't fit you, like for women photographers. And whatever works for you, join these groups and reach out and share things, share experiences, or ask a question. And before you know it, you will have some buddies that have your back
Absolutely.
because we all need that. We all need that. Yeah, that
You do.
women energy to keep us going. Absolutely.
A
Yeah,
support system, that's important because just
absolutely.
feeling alone, feeling isolated, that alone could drive you to anxiety. And
Mhm,
depression is a risk factor for a heart attack, among other things. And so,
mhm.
again, everything is interconnected.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a last S, don't we?
Let's see.
Or,
So we talked about substances, social
oh, yes.
connections.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we
And
have the four. Yeah.
stress. Okay, yeah. And
And
sleep.
sleep.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. So we have all six. Can I ask you, because you have a website, if people are listening in or watching the replay or listening to the replay, is there a way that they can find a little bit more, go a little bit deeper on your website? Or
Hmm.
is there another source that you would like people to refer to if they want to get more ideas, understand better? What would you advise them?
So what I'd say is people have different needs. So they can reach out to me, busywomanhealthcoach.com. There is a form on the bottom, a contact form. And so just reach out to me and say, hey, I'm interested in A, B, C, D, or E.
Mm,
And I will get back with them with some resources or some information regarding that. I'm happy to follow up with people because, again, 75 million years that we lose every year. And if we are
it's
going to bridge the health gap, it's not just going to be the doctors, it's not just going to be the politicians. So we think of, so we have these people in the military, these higher ranking people, the doctors, the administrators, and so forth. But really, it's the foot soldiers that do the work. And we should
mm,
consider ourselves the foot soldiers. So we
mhm,
need to be the ones out there learning this information, teaching everybody around us these things. So we'll
mhm,
be that much further along in closing the health gap. This impacts us. And so,
mhm.
women, yes, let all the women in your lives know. But even the men, because men have daughters, men have wives, men have mothers.
Exactly.
Everybody can
Yeah.
benefit from this.
Yeah. Mm. I have here Sandra from Washington, who gives you kudos also because you're providing a wealth of information. And she said, that's beautiful. Health is wealth and wealth is health. And that's beautiful. Thank you for that, Sandra. That's a wonderful way to basically get things in 6 words.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It is wealth. Absolutely. Thank you for your contribution there. Yeah. I think that we tend too much to lean on what government and institutions organize for us and do for us. And they don't always have the
Mhm.
best interests for us as individuals. It is our responsibility, actually,
Absolutely.
individual. And I know that might sound harsh, but it is our responsibility to reach out. And there's so many people that are here to help you. There's so many resources. For example, has so many things that you can so easily access. If you have an issue with the self leadership, get a coach that helps you to
Mhm.
implement and integrate and helps you with accountability calls. There's so many ways for you to do this and to help basically make this health gap smaller and smaller. I would say one year at a time, but if a lot of people are involved in that, we can do big things. Absolutely.
Absolutely. We can make a tremendous dent
Yeah,
in this gender health gap, but we have to be willing to get started. So it's
exactly.
not our neighbor's responsibility, it's our
Yeah,
responsibility. Every
absolutely.
woman can be impacted. 25% more of our lives in a disabled condition, that's profound. 39
Mm,
trillion minutes of life lost a year, that's profound. We
mm.
all have a role in this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love to invite you when you're listening in live or when you are listening to the replay. Just think of 3 things that you can start doing or maybe stop doing
Mhm.
in order to take that responsibility. We were talking about action or activity. We were talking about diet or stress, sleep, substances, and social weaving. So think of 3 things in one of these areas or in different areas that you can change for yourself, and that are like not too hard, but that can create momentum and that have impacts, and stick to that. Do that every day. And then when you have it like in your routine, add another one.
Absolutely.
It's I call it the 2% rule. You don't have to change your life completely. You don't have to change yourself completely. Just start with 2%. And when you have some money on the bank and you have 2% interest and then it capitalizes, your
Mhm.
progress, your growth can also capitalize. And so if you do the 2% every day, every week, if every day is too hard for you, you capitalize, you grow, and you can take that on. It is doable. It's like baby steps that just are stacked on each other. And you can do
Absolutely.
this. You can absolutely do this. And we are there to help you. Yeah. Some last wise words, Anne.
My final words would be look into the future, imagine the world 2 generations from now. Imagine what it would be like if we close the gender gap, and imagine what it would be like if we don't close the gender gap. Look at your life, what's going on in your life. Think about 5 women or girls in your life and imagine one of them dying 10 years too early, 2 of them suffering unnecessarily, and ask yourself what you're willing to do about it. So, getting started learning this information and not just learning it for yourself, but learning it and disseminating it and teaching people around you and telling them how horrific this quiet crisis is of this worldwide gender gap. I don't mean America, I don't mean Africa, I don't mean the UK, I mean around the world. You can go to the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum. This is a crisis that impacts billions of women, an estimated think 3.9 billion women will benefit if we close the health gap. We all have a role. What are you
Mm,
willing to do about it?
beautiful. Thank you so much, and
Thank you for having me.
for information, for all this wisdom, and for making it so accessible, and also for offering your help so generously. So maybe you can repeat once more the website for people that tuned in later.
Okay. So it's busywomanhealthcoach.com. And you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. But the website is busywomanhealthcoach.com. And I'm more than happy to help you, get back with you if you have any desire for health coaching. Certainly, we can talk about that. But if you just want some information that you can use to improve your life, I'm happy to provide that for you as well.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, and thank you so much out there for being here, for listening. Next week, we are going to talk about selflessness. It's a very interesting conversation, a very interesting angle that we are going to open on selfishness. So be there, be with us next week. Bye for now, and thank you so much for staying with us.
Bye bye.